The New York Islanders have made some surprising roster moves ahead of a massive game against the Pittsburgh Penguins. We have some defensemen coming back from injury. Other players are currently facing an illness bug. We're going to be breaking it all down on this episode of Islanders Digest and really breaking down what this game is going to mean for the Islanders, because the Islanders are alive in the playoff hunt, and if they win this game against the Pittsburgh Penguins, their odds for making the playoffs are drastically going to go up. But before we get into that, be sure to subscribe to the channel, be one of our first 100 subscribers. If you're an Islander fan and you want more Islanders content like this is the channel for you. With that, let's get right into the roster moves. I was not expecting any changes after last night's win against Florida. Well, the night before last night's win, but wasn't not expecting any changes. Turns out we have some changes for the Islanders. Adam Pelech is coming back into the lineup, which is really nice to see. Unfortunately, Romanov will be out tonight. Was really concerned at first when I saw that he was not practicing with the team this morning. If you watched the game against Florida, he did take an elbow up high late in the game. He did return, but we've seen that a couple of times with Romanov where he comes back to finish a game and then he leaves the game for a couple days. That's not the case. He's sick. Apparently, Adam Boqvist is also out with illness. So those two, hopefully the illness bug doesn't go too far through our defensemen. We've already missed so many games due to injury from our defense. Really cannot use defensemen getting sick now, especially considering that the Islanders do not have any time to waste. The playoff push is on full drive right now. The Islanders basically have to win as many games as they possibly can, especially tonight against a Pittsburgh Penguins team that the Islanders are better than. The standings will say they are barely better than them, but they are better than them. If they want to make the playoffs, these are the types of teams that they have to beat, and that's honestly been the type of team that they've been struggling with. It makes sense for the Islanders to be a 500 team against the top teams in the league. In fact, that's pretty impressive. The problem is when they face the bottom half of the league, the Islanders have really been struggling. That is something they are definitely going to have to work on. And honestly, it's going to be a tough game for them tonight, especially without Romanov, because he has been that good this season. We're going to really talk about how good Romanov has been really quickly and why this is a huge blow for the Islanders. Looking at his stats this season, he has 4 goals, 14 points for 14 assists for 18 points, and honestly, that is the bare minimum of what Romanov brings. Romanov is so much more than a point-scoring defenseman, and the fact that he is putting up points for the Islanders is only a bonus. This is a physical defenseman, a defenseman who's playing 22 minutes a night, playing against a lot of times the other team's top players, and he's doing well because he is a +9, and the Islanders are not a positive team. So the fact that he's a +9, playing big minutes for the Islanders, he has been a huge player for the Islanders this season, and their record has been really rough when he is not in the lineup. There was a stat that they are 4-8-2 with Romanov not in the lineup this season. That is absolutely dreadful. Good news is he's only sick. Hopefully he will be back next game. Now, another roster move, or more maybe a non-move I do want to discuss in this video, is Siplikov still being on the 4th line. The other night, Siplikov scored a big goal to get the Islanders a win. He didn't play that many minutes, but when he played, he looked pretty good. And the thing that's really frustrating me right now about Patrick Waugh putting Engvall on the 3rd line and Siplikov on the 4th line. And now, for the record, you can make the argument that our 3rd line and our 4th line both look like 4th lines. I mean, Engvall, Cizikas, Fasching. That, if you told me in the beginning of the season that that would be our 4th line, I might still be disappointed. That is not a great 4th line, and here it is playing on our 3rd line. Siplikov, McLean, Gatcomb honestly were better the night before. They were the 4th line, but they were providing more value. I mean, Gatcomb also scored a goal in that Florida game. However, if you look at their minutes, they played amongst some of the least amount of minutes on the team. And this is really my problem with Siplikov playing on the 4th line. If you're going to roll the 3rd line and the 4th line evenly, then I really don't mind it, because at the end of the day, the talent on the 3rd line is not that much better than what we have on the 4th line. If it is better at all, I think you can make the argument that Gatcomb is a more effective player than Hudson Fasching, at least this season. However, at the same time, one thing you can't deny is if this 3rd line is getting more ice time, not only is this not ideal for Siplikov, a younger player who we're really trying to develop, really get him into a bigger role next season, but I don't think it's good for the team winning. I know Engvall has played 2 games, but it really frustrates me that Patrick Waugh, after dogging on Engvall all season long, is going to reward him and put him on the 3rd line after 2 games where he's slightly improved his play, especially considering when Siplikov has 8 goals, 20 assists, 28 points in 61 games. Sure, that is not as good as we expected him to be when he came from Russia. In particular, we thought he would score more goals. But if we're playing him on the 4th line, what do we really expect? I know his production has dried up as of late, but at the same time, he has not been getting the same minutes. And the other night, he scored a big goal against the Florida Panthers. So why not reward that? In particular, what really bugs me about this is if you look at the 2 players' games, the one thing that Siplikov does is he hits, he plays hard. Sure, he has been struggling with turnovers. That is something he has to work on. But you're going to tell me that Engvall does not also suffer with turnovers? The one thing about Pierre Engvall is he's supposed to be fast, but he doesn't back check. And he also does not play a physical game. In the last 2 games, he has been playing more physical. He had his most hits all season in a game last night. The other night, it was 3. It was 3 hits, is the most hits he's had in a game all season long, which honestly, for a guy who's been playing role player minutes all season long, is kind of ridiculous, especially when you're considering that Siplikov has shown that he is willing to be more physical. He is willing to get in on the play and make a big hit, even to prevent a goal, to really shows that Siplikov is the player who should be playing more. I'm really wondering what this is here. Maybe Patrick Waugh is really trying to teach Siplikov a lesson on how to be more responsible. And I don't hate that idea. But again, the Islanders are really close to a playoff spot. And I don't think that playing Siplikov 8 minutes and playing Engvall 15 minutes is the best way to really make the playoffs. It's not the best for anything. It's really not the best. Honestly, it's not the best for even teaching Siplikov to be a better player because he's not having time on ice to really learn from what the other players are doing, especially if he's sitting on the bench and watching Engvall. Engvall has been really frustrating this season. I can see why, maybe for a few games here to try to teach him a lesson, but for the rest of the season, Siplikov seriously has to be on one of the top 3 lines. Realistically, I would like to see him be in the top 6, really try to earn a spot there because that's where we want him playing in the future. Now, we were talking about it earlier. The Islanders are in the playoff hunt. And as you can see here, even though they have not been playing the best hockey as of late, I think they've won 1 of their past 3 games. If we look here, yeah, we can only see the last game. But the Islanders have really been struggling up until they beat Florida. I mean, they lost to Edmonton in overtime. It is impressive to take a team like Edmonton into overtime, although they're not playing as well as of late. But that being said, even though they really have not played that well after trading Brock Nelson, they are as close as they've been all season to making the wild card spot. The Rangers sit in front of them right now with 72 points in 68 games, and here the Islanders are with 68 points in 68 games. Sorry, I'm mixing up the charts here. And what that means is the Islanders have 2 games in hand, 2 games where they can earn 4 points. And if they earn 4 points in those 2 games, assuming the Rangers lose their next game, but for where they are right now, they can tie the Rangers. They are right there. All they have to do is win the 2 games in front of them. In addition, you look at the teams ahead of them. The Boston Bruins have played more games. They're only 1 point ahead. The Islanders have 3 games to catch up to them. The Columbus Blue Jackets lost a huge game last night. Brutal game for their odds. They now have 70 points in 67 games. The Islanders can also catch them with a win tonight. It's beginning to look like this is becoming more and more possible. The team that they are tied with in games played, Montreal, does have 3 more points than them. But if we look here, the Islanders do have a game against Montreal coming up, and that game is going to be absolutely massive. But before we can even focus on that game, the Islanders have to get 2 points tonight against a team, the Pittsburgh Penguins, that they are ahead of in the standings. Pittsburgh's played 69 games. They only have 66 points. They are below NHL 500. These are the types of games that you have to win. You have to beat the teams that you're better in, especially when you're in a hunt like this. Now, that being said, it's not going to be easy. Pittsburgh has won their last 4 games. After the trade deadline, they have been playing a little bit better, but there's no excuse, especially for the Islanders at this point. Islanders don't have the best roster, but they are fighting for a playoff spot right now, and they have to beat the Penguins tonight. And if they do, they have an opportunity in 2 days to beat Montreal and really flip the standings. In 2 games, you can be looking at a situation where the Islanders are tied with the Rangers for that playoff spot. They would actually, if they won these 2 games and they were tied with the Rangers, they would have the tiebreaker It's going to take some luck with teams losing, but at the end of the day, all the Islanders can control is winning the games ahead of them. After Montreal, they have a game against Calgary, who is also in a playoff hunt. That's going to be a tough game. But after that, you have a game against the Blue Jackets, another team that you are trying to pass. This is a huge opportunity, and the Islanders definitely have a shot to make the playoffs, but they're really going to have to win a couple of these games in a row. They're going to have to beat Pittsburgh. You're going to have to beat Montreal. Like to see them beat Calgary. If you do have to lose one of these games ahead, I guess that is the game, that or the Vancouver game. You have to beat Columbus. And you know what? If you do those things, this team has a real shot of making the playoffs. This is really feeling like last year, where at a point it seemed like none of the teams really wanted it that much. None of the teams were really playing their best hockey. And then at the last second, the Islanders stepped up and make the playoffs. This is really looking like one of those scenarios where they can do the same thing, shock the entire league, and make the playoffs. And let me know what you think about the Islanders' playoff chances in the comments. I'm hopefully optimistic that this can actually happen, but let me know your thoughts. Do you even want to make the playoffs? I know a lot of fans right now want to commit to the tank and really get a better draft pick. So do you want to see the Islanders play good hockey down the stretch and try to contend for this playoff spot? I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments below. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel, and as always, let's go Islanders.